Who do stories belong to? Can you write about your life and untangle it from those you grew up with, especially your mother? In an honest, thoughtful examination, novelist and journalist Leah McLaren explores that. Her work has long appeared in the Globe and Mail and Maclean's here in Canada, and in such British outlets as The Guardian and The Observer magazine. Her new book is Where You End and I Begin, a memoir. Welcome, Leah McLaren, to our studio. Hi.
Hi.
It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
So I just want to say to our viewers and also to you, we're going to talk about some really difficult things, and just to put a content warning out there. And at any point, if you want to stop, just say "Nab." That's it. And if you don't want to answer anything, don't answer anything. Okay. So I wanted to read something. You start the book by detailing a night out you had when you were just 14 years old, which ended with you being sexually assaulted by one of your friends. In the book, you describe him, and you say to him continuously, he's ignoring your request for him to stop, and you write this. The problem is that he wants it more than I don't. Fine, I say at last, do what you want, I'm going to sleep. Scott says nothing. He slides over me like the lid of a cast iron pot. He pushes my legs apart gently and proceeds to settle the debt. It only takes a few minutes. When this happened, did you consider that you had been sexually assaulted?
No, and honestly, I still don't really entirely see it that way.
How come?
I think that we were both children, like we were both 14, 15. Mm-hmm. And also, I did consent. I did say, fine, do what you want. Which is
that was after he kept saying, and you said no.
Pestering, but I mean, if every
you were also
woman who
drunk.
gets pestered into sex is raped, then that's like, you know. But the reason why I think I started the book with that scene is that it stuck with me. Mm-hmm. It's something I returned to and revisited, and it's something that bothered me. And that, like a lot of women, I thought about it during Kavanaugh, during Me Too, and I wondered why I was thinking about it. And I wondered, was I really so traumatized by this, or am I just thinking about it because
you're being told to think about it?
Yeah, or yeah, I don't know. Or I want to have a victim narrative because everybody seems to have one, and Me Too. So that's the tricky thing. I also think that it was, I don't know, I'm interested, and what the book is interested in are those sort of gray area traumas or sexual traumas, sexual discomforts. What happened at the pool party was, I think, to some degree, very troubling and traumatic for all three. There were three of us involved in the whole scene. And it's always, I don't know who was wrong or right. I mean, in that very moment, definitely he was not acting well. But I think the truth is that a lot of women and men who have some kind of violation in their life, they experience it not in a completely black and white way. And we go on experiencing these troubling things in a not black and white way. And that our culture increasingly seems very black and white in the way that these stories are told.
Do you think our culture is demanding that we see it in a black and white way?
Not demanding. I think that's always black and white stories. Fairy tales have always been easy for people to comprehend. But I think what's happened with the rise of social media is that that sort of binary way of understanding the world has been heightened, and the moral stakes seem to be heightened. Mm-hmm. You know, something like cancel culture. The irony of it is, if we assume that cancel culture sort of came out of things like Black Lives Matter and Me Too, the irony is that it doesn't make the world seem more just. Mm-hmm. It makes the world seem almost more scary, mm-hmm. and that interests me.
When did this particular incident get reframed in your mind?
Well, it was something I thought about a great deal. I talked to therapists about it. I didn't think about it a lot. I thought about it a lot at the time and the year after, because my best friend and I sort of broke up over it. And there was a lot of gossip at school. But then I kind of moved on. And then it really it sort of came back during Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh was really, and it was also not a similar, teenagers, a back bedroom. And I thought of it a lot. I felt very angry, mostly that he was confirmed on the Supreme Court, not so much about the pool party. But yeah, it's a tricky thing. I don't actually feel angry at the person involved or either of the people involved.
But you cried about it.
Yeah.
So what were you feeling when you were crying about it?
I feel like, we were kids, and it saddens me that as kids, part of the book is about how we were precocious kids. We went to an art school, and like a lot of kids, we were experimenting. And we were trying to sort of play act some kind of, I don't know, Girls Gone Wild, whatever we thought cool grown-ups would do in that situation. But looking back on it, I see we were just children, and we were hurting each other, and it was quite loveless and pleasureless, and sex really shouldn't be that. And it shouldn't be so fraught with power dynamics. And I feel actually very protective kind of all of us.
Well, you were there because it was a party, but one of the reasons why the three of you were there last is that your friend Joni and you had mothers who were kind of, you didn't have to come home at a certain time, let's just say that, right? So you were kind of out there when you should have been at home. When you told your mother what happened, what did she say?
Well, I didn't tell her for a while. I told her after I lost a lot of weight and I sort of fainted at school and I failed math, and I wasn't really my best self. And then I remember one night I broke down and told her, and she responded with a story of her own. She sort of said, well, she took it in, and my mom was always really good at listening to the things. I could always tell her about, she wouldn't judge me. She wasn't judgmental at all.
She would say it's your life?
Yeah, she would say, and she meant it. But also, she wasn't easily shocked. Like she didn't seem to feel frightened that something terrible would happen to me. I think a lot of mothers will do that. It's like you feel the fear, and then you start shouting at your kid, or you feel like this shows I'm a terrible mother, that you were able to do this thing. And my mom wasn't like that. And she was quite risk tolerant. And she told me I have a story of my own, and the story was that the way she put it was, I fell very much in love with someone when I was your age, and it was an incredibly damaging relationship, and it was heartbreaking. And the relationship, it turned out, she was not my age, she was 12, not 14. And it was with her pony club instructor, who was in his 40s and married with 4 children. So, and it went on, and it was not one night at a pool party, it was from 12 to 15. So it was a profoundly damaging trauma for her that was experienced in the way that often a lot of what we call childhood sexual abuse or childhood or even early adolescence, which is childhood, sexual abuse is often experienced very differently than other forms of sexual abuse. It's actually quite strange that the word rape is it means so many things. And in my mother's case, and in the case of many people like her, it was her first experience of love. And she,
Some people might hear that and think that's an odd thing to say because he was 45. As you mentioned, he had 4 children, some of them, I think, older than her.
Older than her.
And she was 12, so she's a child still. So how can it be an act of love?
Grooming, right? So I think, did you see the Michael Jackson documentary?
Yes.
Similar. I mean, in that was a really profound documentary, I thought, because it went very deep into victim experience. And people don't really, it's a very uncomfortable thing to think about. But in my experience, a lot of child victims are made to, they believe they fall in love with or maybe they do fall in love. I mean, and the predator presents as someone who is a loving paramour.
That makes them feel
yeah,
safe.
yeah.
When you tell your mom that, and she tells you what happened to her, and this person is called the horseman, you call that person
That's what I
that in the
call
book. What's your reaction to what your mom tells you?
So my reaction was, I was just flabbergasted. Obviously, my parents met in high school, and I just assumed that they had been each other's first, and they had divorced. But basically, I was relieved because I could it was almost like a physical sensation. I could feel the importance of my own trauma. It just seemed suddenly sort of facile and unimportant. And the truth is about, victimhood is that there's a reason why people don't want to talk about this stuff, because it's like, how about I'm just not a victim and I don't talk about it? And so in a way, it allowed me to take that experience and sort of think, well, Mom's right. Like, I'll get over it. She got over that. And so it was profound relief, but then also a sinking sensation of, she also explained over time, part of it that night, but then part in the years to come, about she left our family when I was about 8 and my sister was 6, and eventually moved to the city. And it was very much her, it was a split motivated by her. And she had, before that, been this really quite conventional stay-at-home mom, like didn't work, made her own maple syrup, like was just quite, and her father died, and she said it was like something in me just snapped. And she didn't have to pretend to be a good girl anymore. And that story, the reason why was because, as she explained it, what happened with the horseman was her father had found out about it. It was a source of incredible shame for her. And she then came to see her marriage, her decision to have children quite young. She married at 21, had me and my sister in her 20s. And she came to see those decisions as born of a need to be a good girl, to prove that she wasn't this sort of scarlet teenager. And in her mind, and the way she talked about it, was she found out that my grandfather died, and she then left. But what was shocking to me was, of course, this meant that my entire childhood, my entire family was born of this trauma.
It's interesting you said that she said she didn't want to be a good girl anymore, but she always used to say that about you, that you yourself are a good girl. And some people might say that you're on the outside, that your relationship with your mother, the Gilmore Girls, like that's the kind of relationship I want to have with my daughter. But you later on you come to realize that your relationship is defined by the word enmeshment. What does that mean?
Well, enmeshment, it's not unlike, it's a psychological term, and it's not unlike codependency, if you're familiar with that, a much abused term. But it's often seen in children of alcoholics, which my mother was not. It essentially means a blurring of boundaries between an adult and a child. But it can happen between two married people too, but it's when codependent people or enmeshed people or people who are the product of childhood enmeshment have a hard time understanding the boundaries between their feelings and the feelings of their loved one. So, and usually what it's born of, the theory goes, is that the enmeshed child takes on the feelings and emotions, carries the feelings and emotions of the adult, their primary parent. In my case, my mother. And I very much identified with that. Like her feelings, her story is part of the reason why I was so profoundly affected and fixated to the point where it was a sort of kernel of this book with her story, what was her abuse story, because it seemed, I just thought about it so much. It seemed more important than my story.
And you write in the book that it became more, you tried to unravel or untangle this relationship once you became a mother. And in the book, you write something that I wanted to read. You write, stories are like children, and children are like barn fires, you can make one. It's usually easy. You can do it on purpose or by accident. Go ahead, toss a match in the hay. After that, the thing will live and breathe. It will go where it wants. You cannot pretend to own it any more than you can control it. But here's the catch. You can and will be blamed for the outcome. This is especially true if you are the mother. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying that's how it is. You need to prepare. So how does one prepare? How does a mother prepare?
That's a good question. I think for me, you need to prepare to be asked later on, because none of us is perfect. If you're trying to be perfect, that's not, you can't prepare for that. And it's more about being accountable. So when your child comes to you and says, what about that? I have a question about this or that happened. Even if you are 85 and that child is 60, the challenge, the thing you need to prepare for is that moment and meeting that child as a parent, even then, being able to actually be accountable for your actions and your mistakes, and being able to talk about it. And I think that is I did a really interesting it was like in promoting this book, it was like a online web thing with, it was like a forum for therapists to talk about therapy and and they had a couple of authors on. And all of these therapists, family therapists, there were like 20, couple of dozen of them, and they were talking about how many of their clients are people like my mom who are saying, I feel like I'm being presented with a bill, like an invoice from my adult children saying, what about this, what about this? And it often happens, for me, it was after I had kids. I had this incredibly warm memories of my mother, and our relationship was like so extraordinary. It was the Gilmore Girls, like no one, from the outside, it looked unconventional, but it worked. We never fought. We didn't have any of the problems that teenage daughters and single moms have, or any teenagers and their parents. And then I had kids, and I just thought, wait a second. And I went to my mom with the invoice, and that did not go well.
Well,
it often doesn't go well.
Well, it's like what you thought your life isn't. So what do you think it was about you becoming a mother that kind of flipped that switch on?
Well, just that it's about templates, right? So it was about me thinking, as a mother, you're continually confronted with, well, what do I say in this situation? Do I say no? Do I hold the line? Do I bend? Do I give in? Do I... people talk about boundaries, and boundaries as a parent, it's very easy to talk about that, but when you actually have a kid, it's like a series of tiny decisions.
I was so judgmental before I became a mom. Oh. I would see people be like, oh, like, why is that child screaming? Like, that is a bad parent. And then I have children, I'm like, oh my God, please don't judge me. It's so hard. It's so hard, you have no idea.
Because what you forget is that you love them.
Yeah.
And also you're just like, it's like means end, especially the busier you are, the more thinly stretched you are. Yeah. The more, I read these parent influencers who are like, you've just got to sit with the child and co-regulate. And it's like, yeah, but I need them to get their shoes on.
Because I'm tired of giving appointments.
Yeah, like, what do you think? Like, that's all well and good of you, like, live in la la land. But yes, no, so it was those tiny choices made me, it's just about boundaries. And also, I just started to reassess, like, why was I never asked? Why did she never ask to see a report card? Why? Did she ever go to a parent-teacher meeting? Did I ever have chickenpox? You don't know.
You mentioned the word boundaries. We're running out of time, and I have so many questions left. But you just mentioned something that's interesting. You said the word boundaries. You realized that the boundaries had been crossed?
Yes, and that's what enmeshment is, right? It's the crossing of boundaries. We talk about boundaries a lot now, but I'd like to say, too, in the 90s, when I grew up, the 80s and 90s, it was an extraordinarily safe time. It was literally the end of history. It was like, capitalism is won. It's all good. Social democracy and capitalism. Everything's, there are no more wars, except in places that are far away from Ontario. And I think there were a lot of parents, particularly in Toronto, progressives, cosmopolitan, really smart, educated people, but there was a sense of kids should just be treated like adults. We should address them. We should let them have free reign, within reason, over their life, and just tell them the world like it is. It was a much safer time, right? And
well, your mom kind of, because this book is something that your mom and you talked about a lot. And initially, she objected to you writing this book because she felt like you were stealing what she says was her story. She even wrote about it in the Literary Review of Canada. Do you know how she feels now? Does she still feel that way?
She's still angry. I know that. How she feels, that's one of the problems. In my view, we haven't talked about it enough. And we can't. I almost wrote the book in a way, a lot of people have said to me, like, why wouldn't you wait till your mother? She said to me, why didn't you wait till I'm dead? Like, what's the problem? And I think the reason is I can't have the conversation with her. So I have one marketable skill, which is that I'm able to make my life into a story. And that's the reason why. I mean, I wrote it. I hope people connect with it, but really it's for my mom. And
it's a way of connecting to her. It's interesting because in the book you talk about how you would have these conversations about brutal honesty and about how writers need to be ruthless in telling the truth. She told her own truth about you in an essay that she wrote. Do you feel that she doesn't have a reason to feel hurt, or do you feel as if this is another example of you both not really, like, walking side by side, but not really seeing each other?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I mean, I feel everybody's entitled to their feelings, but my relationship with my mother is incredibly complex. It's complicated by the fact that we are both professional writers, and we communicate there are the words on the page and then the words between us. I guess, our relationship, it's an ongoing negotiation. I love her. I will always love her. She's a voice in my head. And I feel our relationship is just an ongoing negotiation. But her feelings, what she has expressed of her feelings about the book have changed a lot. Some of it's in the book. She sort of gave it her blessing and then took it away. We had a reconciliation, and then but that, to be honest, that's been the story of our life for much of my adulthood. It's like many people have that with their moms. You have a holiday, you have a blow up, and then you don't talk for 6 months, and then you reconcile. But for me and my mom, I think in a way I wrote the book too because I needed distance. I needed to say, this is how it was for me. Because her story, which also I would like to say messed with her templates profoundly, right? The idea, when you go through a trauma like that and you have to spend the rest of your adult life realizing that what you thought was your first love that made you feel very special was in fact rape and a violation, that is so damaging, even beyond just what happened to her young body. It's really incredibly profoundly distorting in terms of your ability to find your way through love and connection afterwards. So,
and finally, I know we're almost out of time. For yourself, how has this book helped you to understand yourself better, not just as a mother, but just yourself?
God, I mean, it has. I think that I realized that distance is important. I'm not very good at therapy. I did quite a lot of therapy, but I talk too much anyway. Like, I ruminate, so it stopped really working for me, but it allowed me, it does feel like I have it out there. It's a story. It's almost like I can take the book. I feel like when all of this is over and everyone's forgotten about the book, there's gonna be a moment when I put it on the shelf, and I feel like I'm hopeful I'll be able to actually move on to the extent that any of us ever gets over our mother or our childhood.
I have to say, it is an excellent book.
Thank you.
Before we started taping, I said I was quite jealous. It's really terrific. Congratulations.
Thank you
I know it's
so much.
difficult to put these things out, but I think they're going to help a lot of people, myself included. So thank you.
Thank you.
The Agenda in the Summer with Nam Kiwanuka is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.